We've got our IT issues settled. This is a work session. Today is Monday, December 9th. We have 3 items on the work session agenda. Item number 1, capital improvement fund discussion. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. If you recall, we had a little bit of money that we were able to put toward more projects. Council looked them over, we took those into consideration, and then staff came up with a list as well. And they are alphabetized, they're not in any particular order, so we can go over those, and Cheryl has it on screen. Starting with, I think you have at your seating colored copies under the blue staff recommendations below.
Okay. So clarification before we start. Staff recommendations below. Is it the complete list, or does the staff recommendation stops?
Stops.
Right here.
It stops at the, where it says 7 million, oh, it's off by 10,000. 7,710,000.
Okay.
I don't know, it's off by 10. That's weird.
All right.
And so, if you recall, council prioritized the first set, and those are above the blue line, and then in discussion, council had some suggestions, and staff taken those under consideration, and so we can go through those. One of the recommendations was to get some of these little projects just off the plate and done, so you'll see that in all this. So the first one is ADA improvements, city buildings. The golf course bar is not accessible, and so there's $35,000 in to take care of that.
Explain that, Mike. Is it the bar or going into the bar? Or?
No, the bar itself, the counter,
Okay, you have to have one.
you have to have a spot for accessible in that. It's going to take some work. There might have to be a wall that has to be moved, but in order to make it accessible, it has to be at the same location. We did have initially a space right next to the bar, but that's kind of discriminating against, because it's like, you sit over there, you can't sit at the bar, so we've got to lower a section of the bar there.
So Mike, since it is ADA, is there not a specific time frame for that? I mean, not really, but.
No, the sooner the better, I would say, since we're under scrutiny, and that's a city building, and so. As you know, we got Church Street and Convent Street going on, and there's engineering costs with that, $400,000. That's an estimate. Next one is city garage sanitary sewer. That leach field down there, I'm told, is having to be pumped out a lot, so that needs to be redone. City hall, city garage storm drainage, that was not prioritized previously, and we've got $125,000 for that. Community center ceiling tiles, $30,000. Those were all that were damaged. The community center roof is specific because we've got a quote, or quote for that, $18,028. In the 5-year plan, there's always been a contingency. This year I don't know the percentage there, Cheryl, but it's $250,000 contingency for anything that comes up in the year, for mostly on city buildings. Stuff happens through the year. The cost share sidewalk incentive program was in the strategic plan but wasn't prioritized. We put that back in here, $150,000. For the most part, I think we've had pretty good success with that, of people coming forward and utilizing that. And we're getting some sidewalks done. Fire station number 2, the bedrooms and painting and windows. The overall requested or estimate is $100,000. We can do it in phases, so that number there, $56,947, is basically a number that makes the bottom line zero out. So it's about half.
Actually 46, because we were off by 10,000, I'm not sure why.
Oh.
So 46,927.
And then we've had storm drain collapse up by the high school, and there's approximately 700 lineal feet left to install. That's $300,000. If you recall, in the land acquisition fund, we had $14,700 because we had a specific property, but the strategic plan calls for funding a land bank just to have that available should, stuff come up for whatever reason. So that's $200,000. The miscellaneous asphalt, gravel, snow removal, HVAC contract, if you recall, we were able, because of the CIP, the last vote was to allow for maintenance. We were able to move those out of the general fund and put them in here and help us to balance the budget. $175,000. Monument Lake is in our 5-year strategic plan. It's $250,000. That number was requested from the lessee and from Gil to maintain city buildings. There's some roofs in there. There's some plumbing, gravel for the roadway. So $250,000 there. From the 5-year plan, parks and playgrounds was $50,000 a year. We bumped that up to $100,000. We're just finding that slides and everything, playground facilities the costs are kind of astronomical. And then once we order them, it takes them forever to come. And then the installer, who is supposed to be in here during the summer, we're still trying to get in here. They're specialized. It's not something that just your contractor could do. And then storm sewer rebuild is in there for $100,000. And with that zeroes everything out. Projects below are still projects that are, I will call it a wish list. They're still out there, still need to be done, but those were brought to the forefront, like I said, to get some of these projects off the plate and done. With that, if council has any questions.
Start with Aaron Ogilvy. Do you have any questions on that, Aaron?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
The only one I had was, when we were talking about the contingency, its estimated cost was $350 and the budgeted cost is $250,000. And if I missed your explanation of that, I just wanted to know what that was.
So it had been 250 for the past couple of years, but because sales tax diminished so much, we dropped it to 250. And
Okay.
in the actual 2025 budget, it's budgeted at 250,000.
Okay. And then it will go back up in 26 and 27 to 350? Is that what that's looking like it says?
It's based on sales tax. It could drop again next year.
Okay,
Or it could
all right.
stay at 250, and if sales tax increases, it would be 350.
Okay, and the other question I had on Monument Lake, is this the Monument Lake Resort we're talking about? Or is it the lake itself that we're talking about? I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
It's the actual resort itself. The lodge is requiring some painting. There's some plumbing fixtures in all the units that have not been updated since they were built, I don't think badly. Those need updating. I'm sorry, I don't have the list in front of me, but Mr. Ramirez had identified a lot of things for general upkeep, and then Buckhorn Outfitters was the gravel roadway that they're required to maintain, and we've always supplied them gravel.
Okay, and the 5-year plan, where are we in that 5-year plan? How many years have we been doing that, $250,000 a year?
It's been in the 5-year plan for quite a while, 10 years. It's only lately with the new lessee that he's actually utilized it and brought the resort up to speed.
Okay, those are the questions I had. Thank you.
Eli, do you have any questions?
No, Mike answered that one about the golf course, and mine was kind of related to what Councilman Ogletree said about Monument Lake, so, yeah, okay, clarification's okay.
Frank?
Mike, the only one I have is the church and convent engineering. Wasn't that part of the million, whatever we got from them, isn't that included in that? I mean, how come we're?
That was included to try and make that grant work. Previous city manager offered up engineering, and that engineering has to be done by spring, early summer. And I thought if we can get an engineer on board and get that done, it'd be helpful.
But isn't?
That was.
But I meant, what I meant was that in our grant money, or the money that we set aside, that did that cover that, or I mean, this is an additional to what we're putting in there, right?
Yes, for engineering. In the grant itself, the engineering was in kind,
Oh, okay.
with our engineering department doing that, so, yeah.
Is that gonna cost us that much?
I hope not, but
That's what I was
anymore,
asking.
engineering, the price has been coming in. From what I've seen since I come back, it's like, oh, yeah, so.
Yes. Just curious on that. Thank you.
And these are all estimates. If they come in lower or higher, we kind of have to adjust.
The only question I had was, did we ever find out if the ceiling tiles were due to the leaks for the insurance? That we could have.
I think that insurance was closed out. I apologize, I'll have to verify for sure. But I think it was finished. And
Well, we already received insurance for the leak, well, I guess for the hail damage, well, maybe that's hail damage. We received $61,000, and that's for the community center roof.
Yeah, so that one.
Yeah.
And I was like, because normally they'll cover the inside too, but
yeah,
just.
I'll verify that.
When was that lost, you know?
There was 2 hailstorms, 22 and 23, I'm not sure which one. I'm gonna guess 2023, because I put it on the books last year, the
Okay.
61,000.
So I'm thinking you might, I don't know how CIRSA works versus private insurance companies, but you might be able to submit a supplemental, they call it. Yeah.
We'll check into that.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Aaron,
I just wanted to make sure, the skate park is funded, it just moved to the lottery funds, right?
Correct.
Okay. Then on the Osala property, how much of that trail has been installed to date?
It's my understanding that approximately 3 miles has been done. And roughly, I think 70,000. I don't have those numbers at the top of my head, but.
Yeah, and I understand. I mean, there's no way you can keep all this information at once. Do you know, is it in a position that it's usable? Because in any fashion, I mean, because if we're gonna abandon that project, I mean,
It is a loop. My understanding, it is a loop. So you can get on and I think ride a 3 mile loop, usable,
okay.
yes. And with phases, I guess, my understanding, the group presented to you and it was in
Yeah.
phases. If you move forward, each one would have a loop. And you could do the entire loop or just a smaller loop. That's my understanding. I wasn't here for that, but yeah.
Okay, but I mean, to the best of your knowledge, there is some, at this point, a complete loop.
They were actually finishing up this weekend, so I think it is.
Okay.
I will get back to you on that.
All right. I mean, because obviously we're going to be putting that on hold, right? It's just, it'd be nice if it was at a position that's usable while we wait to fund the rest of that potentially.
Yes.
And then I didn't understand, to be honest, the Church Street improvements, the 4.04 million, and then economic development. Can you just talk about that a little bit, Mark?
Sure.
I mean, that's
The actual-
separate from the engineering, that's the actual cost of the project,
The
right?
project, correct. So there are 2 grants involved with that project. One, I don't know if Nick is in here.
Yes.
Nick, can you, I know there's more housing now and stronger communities. One is utilities, one is surface. It's all tied together in this estimate of 4 million. So can you just run through that?
Yeah, I think, so it was, I think it was what we have in there. So it's the 2 grants, 80-20 match on both grants. So the strong communities was, they're roughly half. And
Apologize putting you on the spot.
no, that's fine. I had to bring my sheet this morning. Yeah. So
I mean,
yeah, it's split up into 2 grants, and it's to redo. I think we're familiar with the project. Redo
Yeah.
Church Street.
and then I guess
Utilities.
just to clarify, so there's two grants involved, and we do have the matching funds available for those grants?
Well, so the Strong Communities grant, we're going to use the More Housing Now
Okay.
funding, so that's where the city's going to come up with that. The second half of the grant, the More Housing, that's confused, it's also More Housing Now from the state, so we have the city has its own housing, More Housing Now. The state has a grant called More Housing Now that we're a recipient of. That one's, oh, thank you. There's an answer, it's just not in my folder, not my book right now.
Sorry.
No. So we were funded from the Stronger Communities 1.8, and then the More Housing Now from the state was 2.24. So our match was 270, and that's what we did with our More Housing Now agreement with Mount Carmel for their affordable housing project. And then there's a $560,000 match, $560,000 match. That's part of the More Housing Now grant from the state, and that's where the property acquisition.
Okay.
We've worked through that. That's where that money's going to be tied into.
Okay, so
back to you guys pretty
That
quickly.
line item isn't being addressed in the capital improvement plan, but it is being addressed.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one other question, but I can't think of it. That's it. All right, thank you.
And I will add, there's a very good possibility for Church Street that, the monies that had to be spent, there may be a community that is not able to spend it in time, and they're reaching out to others that applied, whether you could use more money, and
Well, that'd be great.
we're in line, yeah.
Okay, I did think of my question, if I may. So we have that 700,000 set aside for the river, right?
That is correct, that's one of council's priorities up above.
I just wanted to verify, I mean, I would hope that this is not the case, but if worst comes to worst, there is ways that we can redeploy that money to other needed areas, right? I mean, that's definitely possible.
Right.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Frank, you had some questions?
Well, I just wanted to ask, and it's not so much on that, but there's a couple of projects that, I mean, we didn't go through that I kind of think need to be addressed, and I've talked to you about the one on Main Street with the walkway of the Opera House, and also the railroad deal on Linden. I mean, have we made any progress with the railroad trying to get that done and maybe get it paid? Because it's getting worse and worse.
It really is bad.
Yeah, if Bob would come forward, he's working with the railroad, and there's an opportunity
That's
there.
fine, always.
I'll let Bob explain.
Good thing we have all these guys back
That's
here.
what that.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We met with the railroad about 3 weeks ago at the Linden site, and they're in the process of putting in a new crossing arm and stuff there. Unfortunately, prioritization didn't come back high on Linden. I wished it would have, but they would cost share with us on replacing the track beds, and I'd like to completely redo the asphalt, including the track beds, from the Hollywood all the way, call it the Hollywood, whatever that Hollywood bar used to be, all the way up to that next crossing, because they're taking out the two track beds at the further to the south. So unfortunately, it did come in on the prioritization list, Linden, but I think it's very important because it's one of our east-west connectors, commercial, Animus, and obviously Linden. So and it's in disarray. It needs a lot of work.
If they were gonna do cost share, what would our costs be?
Well, it's about 40 grand a piece, 80,000 for each track bed. There's 5 of them on that end. So roughly, 40 times 5 is 200 on our end. They pitch in 200, and then we'd have all the asphalt, the tear out and replacement of the asphalt. And we want to do a ADA sidewalk on the west side as well. That way we have a connection, because we do have sidewalk that comes up to those tracks and just gets in there. We have sidewalk on underneath the viaduct, the bridge. So we could have a connection there too. So that's what the project would entail. Would be a new sidewalk, brand new street, track bed.
So why haven't we moved? Shouldn't we move on this because if the railroad backs down?
Well,
I mean, it's kind of if it's a half and half deal, we should be working on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying this year, but we should make it a priority to get something done on that.
Correct, and the half and half deal is only on the track
Right.
head itself, where they put the concrete panels in to smooth that up, and then all the asphalt approaches, the roadway approaches, that would be on us. They won't cost share that, so, it's a possibility that we could,
how much was that project like?
2 million is what we had, but we also have, citywide paving at $1 million. So if we work a deal with the railroad and able to get that, we could focus on paving that, but along with that comes the ADA improvements. If you do any that amount of work on the road, ADA is required, right?
Correct, and we were planning on doing the sidewalk on the west side.
Couldn't that come under the citywide paving?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Oh,
That's a
I'm
possibility.
just catching up.
No, and we didn't have this offer prior when we were prioritizing and going through things, but, yeah, we won't pass it up. I mean, again, these are all estimates. If something like that comes in, we may even be able to apply for grants. I say we, the city.
Right, well, yeah, I understand. And you say they are taking out 2 tracks?
They are removing the farthest to the south.
That's
I think they got rubber, they're rubber,
Right, and they're still leaving 5 in there?
and the 5 on the, basically on the north end. It's the 2 main lines, and I think there's 3 sidings that are included in those 5.
Okay, yeah,
And actually signalizing, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, they
They'll
want to put in, they want to signalize those
yeah,
5.
they should put that in.
They don't have to do the track beds yet, but if we go forward, they would contribute.
I think that's something we should do.
Questions?
And then the other bill, the deal on Main Street, have we?
As far as the walkway on the Opera House, the owner is working through a loan, and that the walkway is included on that for them to finish. I will continue to push that along because I agree with you. It's just,
That's ridiculous. And then on their loan deal, it said it wouldn't, nothing would be done until the loan wouldn't even become available until April. That's what it said in the paper. That's what they were putting in for. Sure
Do you ever just leave everything?
He's telling you, I believe him, he's telling you. No, I'm just saying that, you know, if they're doing that, then by the time they get the grant, a loan, that'll be way past summer again, and
right.
start over again.
And they need to stabilize that corner, and we've been pushing hard on that.
I think we need to really keep at it.
Yeah,
What happened is Tora, you know about that, don't you?
right. Tora is gonna
Loan.
loan them the money, and they're putting up collateral for the loan, and they're almost there, and they have a bank to underwrite everything.
The only thing is the second they bid for the repairs came out over what they originally figured, so they're working through this.
And what actual work is intended to be done on the building?
Well, what they found out, and this is just information that I know of for sure, that would it be the southwest corner of the Opera House, that roof area is destroyed, there's nothing there, that's the original roof. So all that water was able to come in and actually cause problems, and anybody out back there knows something different, or up here, let me know. But they're gonna stabilize that corner, and then I'm pretty sure that that loan is also going to include a revised walkway, right?
Was supposed to, yes. So, but we will continue to work through that.
Tora's having a meeting Thursday night if you guys wanna go
Okay,
to find out.
Yeah, that would be a good one to go on question.
and they, during the engineering investigation of it, they also found that us old people can visualize that
Yeah,
the old ISIS had arches with a column. Well, the timber beam under that column had cracked. So they've got included in all that is to replace that and stabilize that. They're looking at just taking down the sandstone facade panels for now, drying that in until they can come up with more. It's a tough situation.
Yeah, I know.
We're pushing as hard as we can. Hate to see the buildings lost or torn down, but we're there
Yeah, it's going to.
unless they do something.
Okay,
Thank you for trying.
thank you.
I just have one more. Just one thing. We said we were gonna visit these in 6 months, right? Biannually.
We can as things progress.
As things start falling off, we can always start moving stuff up. I think that'd be kind of a neat thing to keep us on track.
It would, that take budget revisions and stuff.
That takes money to move up.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And money, and hopefully, the sales tax and everything turns around.
And it'll show us where we're at too, this way that, everyone's on the same page of how many projects we've completed through the year and what progress we have. I think that'll look good for the community. Would appreciate that.
Okay, I have a question. On the strategic plan calls for funding for a land bank. And we have $200,000 for land acquisition, specifically in the land bank. So how hard would it be to get funds out of there if needed? Is it possible, or is that locked in?
So we can move items within the budget as long as we don't go over.
Well, right.
So if we decide not to spend land, or that money on land and move it into, I don't know,
Another
wherever, somewhere else, we can do that within the fund as long as we're not increasing.
So, but then we're not violating the strategic plan, but we're not following it, so would that be a problem? Because it's a 5-year plan, correct?
Well, I wasn't involved with the strategic plan. Was it 5-year? Or
Yeah.
just ongoing? These are
Yeah,
the goals and the plans to move forward.
right. I don't, council approved it, that this is the direction they want to go. We'll have a new council, next year that may change. okay. So in other words, don't worry about it.
No, it's good to worry about it. We're
Oh, yeah.
talking a lot of money, but, and with all this,
Right.
staff will come forward to you to approve as contracts come on board, as bids come on board, as we move forward. I won't be here, but that's the way it should go.
Okay. Okay, anything else on capital improvement? Okay, item number 2, committed fund discussion.
I think Cheryl provided the spreadsheet at your seating. Right?
Yes, yeah.
So at your seats, you will have the original resolution, or the most recent resolution that committed 8.3 million. Well, we've had some activity since then. And I created a spreadsheet to show what's been moved around and what's been spent. Just for example, the first item is the Riverwalk improvements. Oh, I thought I was right.
We lost her. Okay, shows, but she doesn't.
Alrighty.
There it is.
So the first item is Riverwalk improvements. Originally, council had appropriated $1,469,000. Of that amount, we've spent $600,000, and that was for the Architect Group preliminary design. So that leaves $869,000 still committed. And then just so on and so forth. Exit 14, $809,000. The Central Park facilities, $1.2 million, and we've moved the 1.2 out of committed. The water infrastructure, the ARPA funding, originally it was set up for broadband, and then it was reallocated to the water infrastructure, water tank improvements. So we transferred that over. Oops, that's supposed to be red. And economic development land acquisition was at $941,000, and we purchased the Osla property for $312,000. So Eagle Rock Development Agreement, we finally have the Saddle Road project moving on, so we closed that account and moved it over to the sewer fund. Uncompensated absences, $1 million for the general fund. We're just gonna leave that as is. Our fleet, we had at 500,000. We moved out 133,000 of that for the 2 police department Ford Interceptors. But then we want to move that back up to 500,000. So we're just gonna replenish it. And then finally, the fleet fire department, $1 million was allocated to the Spartan custom pumper, which was purchased and paid for in 2024. And then it came in a little bit more than the 500,000. But we're gonna replenish it to 470,000 because that's the remaining open PO for the type 3 urban interface. So after all those funds have been expended, we have another $497,000 to commit, and that's at council's discretion. But we need to have committed funds at $4,775,000 to close out 2024. And I just need council's direction of where we're gonna move that $497,000.
So, quick question, the economic development land acquisition, that's in addition to the other one? On the capital improvement, those are 2 different?
They're different, that's correct, they're separate. Oh, I should, let me think about this.
So where can we move this money to?
We're not moving it, we're committing it.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
Who would, where could we commit that? We would be, can we put that on next year's budget? Can we do it on different things? We're gonna have issues with Noah's Ark, we're gonna have problems with that. We have some infrastructure problems. Can we do any of that?
Yes, we can, we could call it, I don't know, what would we call it? Citywide
Citywide infrastructure.
building infrastructure.
Right,
Right, this
And
isn't
then-
budgeting it, we're just locking it
Right.
down.
We're locking it down as committed funds for these things. Council can always commit and move it if needed.
I should mention that the Riverwalk improvements, 869,000, is sitting in the general fund, but I believe we're getting another contract going with Arcatera.
It's estimated, and it's in
The budget.
the budget, 700,000.
So when we actually go under contract, I'll move 700,000 from general fund to the Riverwalk capital fund.
So do you have any suggestions?
I have a quick question if I may here. The replenishing, to re-up those funds to their desired level, where does that come from?
Interest.
Sorry?
Interest that we've earned. Yeah, if you recall, when we approved when council approved the PD Ford Interceptors, funding, it was asked where the funding would come from, and we had earned more interest in that fleet line item, enough to cover.
So can we designate that money, like you said, for citywide? And then we can use it for other projects? When it comes up on the budget?
We could put it toward infrastructure improvements.
And would that include, buildings, land, paving stuff? What would that include, that kind of overall?
Overall, it could,
So we already have the money in the land, we can split it between the both.
Yeah, because we have to cover that, right? Where it's designated for so long, or am I wrong on that?
We just, I'd like to commit it every year if we can, just take a look at it every year. We did at the end of 2022, council committed funds, and then when the year closed, we saw what the overage was, and then council recommitted or moved items around and committed in May of 2023. We didn't do anything at the end of last year. We weren't sure what funds we weren't sure what revenue, or if revenues came in over expenses until after the audit. After the audit, I believe we came in at $350,000 more revenues over expenses. So that includes $350,000, this 497, and it also includes an additional 100 and some thousand in interest.
From this year. Well, I don't know how the rest of the council, but I'd like to put it in that general idea so that if we need it, we can use it, designate it for any particular thing. If we put it in one particular thing, then, well, we could do that too, though, right? If you, because I mean,
We can,
You could,
I mean, I know when you have to commit. It's kind of like, let's try how we had it before, where we had it committed, but then you had to have it used or something, or redesignated, that was so long. Yeah,
so originally we had $1 million for broadband, but
Right.
then we asked council to reallocate that to the water fund. So that, I believe that's why what initiated this resolution in May, because we moved that money to the water fund.
I thought we moved it to Central Park.
We moved the swimming pool to Central.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Well, let me ask you a question, a procedural question. So all these capital improvement projects that we have guesstimates on these amounts, correct?
Yes.
Is there a way to commit this 497 to compensate for any overages that we have for the capital improvement projects? Or does it have to be a specific?
We're trying to keep it specific. I just want to remind you, this isn't budgeting the funds.
No.
It's committing them so that we don't, so that in our audit, it shows that council is directing the funds to certain projects, and it restricts, in a sense, restricts funds for anything else but these projects.
So if we do a general heading of infrastructure, then it gives staff more leeway
A little
to
bit.
spread it
Yes.
wherever.
Because if we come over on some of these projects, like especially on the ones that are committed, let's say exit 14 goes through, let's say we decide to work on that one, being that it's infrastructure, we're able to kind of funnel some money into that, in case, just, that is an example, is what I was kind of going.
Right.
I think the general idea, I like what Frank said, that if it's general,
Yeah.
then we can spread it out, but on paper is what we need it to look good as, right? Pretty much it's like a placeholder.
Yes, I would say that, yes. So in the audit, it's gonna say 4.775 is committed to projects. And again, we can change this resolution at council's pleasure.
Aaron, do you have any questions?
No, I agree. I mean, I think that's, if we do that, then it remains flexible.
Ethan, you have any questions?
Just out of curiosity, Cheryl, how often are we committed? What's the status of the existing fleet of police vehicles? We purchased a lot of them through the marijuana tax, right?
No, let me-
No? Some of them?
we were budgeting 2 units every year until 2023, there was nothing to budget. Because sales tax dropped, marijuana sales tax dropped, so there wasn't anything budgeted in 2023. But then they were able to find these cars, and we earned enough interest to be able to buy 2 more cars. The fleet amount of 500,000 is pretty much for, I would say emergency, absolutely have to buy vehicles. So we're just trying to keep that in there just in case, the 500,000.
When you say vehicles, does that mean mobile equipment as well? Like
Machinery
tractor,
and
yeah,
equipment?
machinery.
Yes, we usually purchase those types of items out of there.
Aaron Ogletree, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. I think what Cheryl's asking is reasonable for us to just choose some kind of a general category that we can look at later if we need to. So I think that the way it's described is good.
He's been calling.
So do we make that a resolution or does that just?
That'll come before you. You're not voting now, but, it gives
Yeah, that's what.
staff sort of a direction and consensus.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Item number 3, water, wastewater, gas, power and light, and landfill rate discussions.
Yeah, so,
Hello, everyone. So, we just wanted to bring to your attention that the notice that was included in your packet has been going out to customers. So we're just kind of hoping to, inform you all, because I'm sure you're gonna get calls. The notice of the public hearing is not scheduled until February 4th of 2025. However, we wanted to utilize our funds. Postage is very expensive right now. And so we included the notice of public hearing letter with our utility bills. So it started last week, so customers should be receiving that. Again, the purpose of the notice is to inform customers about the public hearing scheduled for February 4th, 2025. Due to state statutes, we're required to give a 30-day notice to customers. So we wanted to be very transparent and up ahead of everything and bring the customers that information. Also included in your packets was the information that we had from Waterworth that was presented back in October. So that's all included. In addition to that, we'll have a booklet on the first floor as well as on the second floor for customers if they have any questions regarding the utility rate changes. Our upcoming budget has also projected these rate increases in our budget. So, in addition to that, at your seats, we put a note from each of the departments of their justification why we are proposing the increases to that particular utility. And try to give you a ballpark estimate on what those projects are gonna cost. Unfortunately, we have an aging infrastructure, so we've gotta keep up. For each of the utilities, water, we are projecting a 3% residential increase. 3% increase to both residential and commercial. What that amounts to, and I will get all of this to you. I just, Steph and I, we've been working on this together and among other things. So, for example, for water, 3/4 inch meter, you're allowed a minimum of 7,500 gallons. We didn't touch any of lowering the allowable amount of gallons. So you're looking at approximately about 74 cents more. So it's $24.75, it would increase to $25.49. If they go above that, they're looking about 10 cents more, because it's $3.30 right now, it would be increased to $3.40 per 1,000 gallons, above the minimum. For large commercial, what you'd be looking at, that's 1.5 to 8 inch. It ranges from $1.30 to $37.19, depending on the meter size.
What's considered a large commercial?
Anything 1.5, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 6 inch, 8 inch meters. Okay. Unfortunately, when we did the rate increase last time, we missed a couple of categories, so we are going back and we're gonna get that corrected as well. For wastewater, we are proposing no change to residential rates. Commercial would be a 7% increase.
7%?
7%, correct.
I'm glad you did that, 'cause I'm glad you did that for the residential, because the rates are pretty high on that.
I know.
I mean, we catch a lot of flack for that.
And we understand that, and it's tough to have to increase rates, but at the same time, it's important for us to be able to have the money to do what we need to do as well for our projects. If you look at your Waterworth report under the wastewater, under proposed solution, when we went through the presentation, as you can see, the orange, lighter orange colored bar is our residential. So our residential customers are paying a lot for sewer already. The bottom portion is the commercial. So we're just trying to keep that even. And when we had the presentation from Waterworth and went through all the different scenarios, that's where all of this is coming from. For sewer's a little bit different on the billing. So a 5/8 meter or 5/8 to 1-inch meter, which would be considered for commercial. The base rate is $36.80. That would increase to $39.38. Again, these are commercial rates, not residential. The highest meter, which is an 8-inch meter, the current monthly charge is $1,461.25. That would increase to $1,563.54. So you can see the rate increase, and I apologize, I don't have the difference of those two figured out, but it's 7%. Okay?
Yeah.
Line for sewer.
What's that?
Who has an 8-inch line for sewer?
It's off your water meter size.
Oh, it's based on water usage, so
Correct.
if you're using the water, then
Correct.
the waste is going into the sewer, so yeah.
Correct. So,
We find out.
yeah, I don't know that we have any 8-inch at that size. I have to look, but yeah. For gas, what's that?
That's a big water meter.
Yeah, exactly. For gas, we are looking only at increasing the delivery charge to 2.5%. So it's minimal. The delivery charge right now for 2024 is 0.2154. What that would be increased to is 0.2205. So it's an increase of 0.0054. Again, that's based on usage or consumption, gas consumption.
Erin Ogletree has a question.
Sorry.
It's okay. Thank you. I'm a little confused here because I don't have exactly what you're looking at in front of me. And so I'm trying to figure out, are these the specific increases that are going to come into effect because the utility departments are following the Waterworth report recommendations, or are we not following them, or how is it varying from what they recommended, if at all?
So yes and no. So gas and electric are a little bit different because we don't own those and we have to purchase gas, we have to purchase electric. So for both gas and power, we are working with John Krowski with JK Energy. And so the information that we are presenting to you is coming from the Waterworth software based on the information that we provided and put into the software and our budget numbers, everything.
So it's different than what we heard about in October?
No, it's the same. It's the same.
Okay, so I think what I'm saying is we're proposing increases to all of these different utilities. Are the increases that we're proposing the same ones that Waterworth recommended?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so
I will tell you on the electric rate increases, right now we have in there, we're proposing a 4% increase for electric and 7.5% for commercial. But we are waiting, ARPA has consulted with John Krowski, JK Energy. So all the ARPA members are receiving his service to do a cost rate study. And so Dave has been waiting to hear back from John, but I think with holidays and everything like that, we haven't gotten anything back from him yet.
sure.
So that's in our presentation, that's what we have. The numbers are based from the Waterworth software.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So, for power, again, we're still figuring those. Dave and I were working on that, and I did 7% instead of 7.5% on the commercial rates, so I have to go back and change those, so I don't have that. We will provide you copies of the ordinances with the changes so that if anybody has any questions for you, you'll have that in front of you. But please feel free to send them our way to answer any questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the people's name down here is, they'll be getting a lot of calls, I'm sure. My question, now that we're implementing, that software on an ongoing fashion, I'm hoping that the result of that will be, sort of longer range time spans between, appreciable increases, is that true, you think?
Based on the software, yes, but it's the way the software is projecting. If you just look at power, for example, let me turn to that real quick. If you remember correctly, when we went through all of that, they identified our cash position, our expenses versus revenues, all that, and our current financial model, if we don't do anything at all,
Yeah.
you can see that black line just dropping. So this software has been very helpful to us so that we can continue projecting, and power and light is below our red line, we want to stay above the red line. So
But I mean, the hope is it will make future changes less drastic, that's,
correct.
okay,
That is correct.
okay.
That is correct. And then, of course, last but not least, we have the landfill rates that are going to be increasing as well. So we're looking at a 3% increase to the existing tipping fees. And again, each of the utility directors are here. They provided me with information for their rate increase justification. And with that, anybody has any questions, or if you have any questions for the guys in back, I'll let them.
Aaron Ogletree, do you have, we'll start with you. Do you have any questions of Linda or any of the?
No, I asked the question I wanted to ask, but thank you.
Okay, Eli, do you have any questions?
Not really. I know, every year we lose more than $50,000 a year operation at the landfill. Pretty much 58, somewhere around there. I think it was
I don't have that
2022.
exact number, but if we don't keep up with inflation, cost of doing business, the fuel,
Yeah.
just everything that amounts up to doing that, we keep it going down, so.
So we would never even think about like what Raton does with a transfer.
Eventually, we may have to have a transfer, but our landfill, well, when I was here previous, we had just done the EDOP engineering development operations plan. The expected lifespan based on growth and everything was 26 years, I believe. So I don't know if it's down there around 24 more years or
2050, yes, Mike.
Yeah.
2050?
out to 2050.
Yeah.
So it's projected to, but in the meantime, we've got to take a look at what we're doing and how we do that. It may be a transfer station to a larger landfill.
I think Raton's been doing that for I don't know how many years now.
Yeah, and
It's fine. They're finding it's more economical than to operate just a regular landfill.
that they pass that
Right.
on to the customer. So
Yeah.
that's what would happen here as well.
Yeah.
And we have, in the Waterworth report, we do have, the post-closure. If you look at the graphs, you can see in 2050, that post-closure.
2050.
Mm-hmm. So we're just trying to be
Right.
ahead of the
2050.
game. I won't be here.
Just you.
But then you have to, after 2050, that has to be monitored for 20 more years, or?
I know it has to be remediated.
Right.
I probably, they'll probably continue to seek the water levels.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No questions, but Steve's department gets the door prize because their utility rate didn't go up that high.
What is the price?
Yeah.
What's the
Remanufactured those.
Do you have any questions?
Just on the landfill, on the rates, we're gonna see a breakdown of how we're charging.
Yes, we'll get that. Like I said, we've been trying to work on all of this as well as other things going on, so we just didn't have that today, but I will make sure that you all get a copy of that. And it'll be in our packet, so if anybody wants to come look at it, they can look at it as well.
Okay, because one of the other concerns, and I've brought this up a couple of times with the landfill, is if we have a definition of resident, like how are we justifying resident to non-residential for the rates?
Julie?
You talking about residential versus commercial?
No, residential versus resident and non-resident. Somebody from
Yeah,
the
we
county and the out of county, or we don't have,
We don't.
Don't
Right
have
now,
that
we have a residential rate and a commercial rate.
okay, but we don't have for somebody coming from Werfeno or somebody coming from Colfax.
We do have a resolution in place that we only take, that was put into place 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
Okay.
Monitoring, the guys at the landfill kind of know, but if somebody comes in with we recently had somebody wanting to landfill, tip out on a landfill from Walson.
From Walsenburg. They're hauling to Pueblo, so just north of Pueblo.
Yeah.
And like Mike said, it's in our, it was passed in that resolution that we could not take on somebody like that because it'll deplete our future capacity.
Okay, so we don't take outside of Los Angeles County?
Do our best.
Oh, okay, I was just gonna, because I was gonna say, just in case, we should have that in place, if it is a fee that should be, if we are taking it, there should be something there, but if we're not allowed to,
Right.
then that makes.
I think it's more valuable to maintain the space than to take more money for the citizens.
So in that example, was the customer turned away?
Yes, I called them back and said, no, we would not take his. So what Mr. DeBono said, I'm not sure because there's a transfer station in Walsenburg. And it's pretty pricey, especially when fuel prices are up. They have to take that's why they wanted to come to Trinidad, because they were going all the way north of Plub up to whatever that that landfill is. It's that big landfill that's.
Midway.
Thank you.
Well, and the questions come up because of the fact that I've been asked a few times when people go to the dump, there's a lot of license plates that are not Colorado.
Yeah, that's something that we could start monitoring more closely. Because I know we do take all the trash within the county, you know, so.
That was just my question, an observation.
Yeah, no, and for smaller, I don't, somebody brings it, you know, our minimum charge is $10 for a pickup load, you know, it's under 750 pounds. So.
Does Jeremy check license plates when they get?
I don't think so, but I can definitely ask.
We don't hang out just checking to see who's from New Mexico or Texas or Kansas.
Good question.
Can you check a driver, maybe a driver license? Suggestion, I don't know.
Yeah, because that pretty much defines your road where it's from, so your driver's license, that's from my driver's license.
Not necessary. Not necessary.
That was in that meeting, we were talking about having to make sure that they were in compliance with the 6 month. If you're living in the state, you have to convert over.
Cap it somewhere.
We'll get to that. That's next week.
Sharon, did
Thank
you have a
Thank you
question?
so much.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah.
I don't have a question so much as it's I appreciate the information in this super tangible form. I know it's from where we looked at the software from earlier, and I'm just hopeful that by having that software we can even out going forward. And I will say that if you watch the news, I haven't written down specifics, but every municipal and utility, statewide, nationwide, is suffering from these same issues, and that does not alleviate our constituents having to cover that burden. But it's it's where we are really as a country right now, unfortunately. So thank you for the information. It'll make it helpful to discuss with people.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Do you guys have anything to add?
No, that's the question.
Thank you.
Wait, I have one question.
Oh, sorry, Karen.
That's all right.
I'm sorry.
I'm easy to forget.
No.
On these justifications, are they part of that packet that's available to the
Yes,
public?
Yes.
Okay.
yes. The only thing that's not included in here are the ordinance, but there will be a copy downstairs on the second floor, as well as we're gonna put one down on the first floor, because unfortunately the staff in our billing office really take a beating anytime we do a rate increase. This will be down there for them, and in addition to that, Cheryl is planning to do a staff meeting with all of them, and I asked if I could poke my head in and just kind of let them know that we're here for them and we have this information as well.
Do you give the people downstairs that collect the money for the utility bills, do you give them any direction on how they are supposed to handle people that get?
That's where Cheryl's gonna have a staff meeting and kind of a pep talk, and, because unfortunately, people get personal, and it's not their fault. The operations, everything's going up in this world, we're not here to make money, we're trying to maintain the system, keep the infrastructure going, and operate each utility. And they will get kind of briefed on how to handle, and
Okay.
one of the main briefings is call Linda. No, she's got all the information, she's been part of it. And
I wasn't gonna say because she looks threatening.
we're doing our best to explain to the,
I see
citizens.
Aaron has a question.
I have a question. Is it going to be on the city website somewhere that people can find readily?
So, we have the letter, the notice out on our website right now. That's all we have. But, yes, that is something, we're just trying to keep everything out there, so hopefully everybody has the right information, and if they don't, they know where to come.
Well, I think it would be really helpful if it was something that was accessible on our website, so that they
Absolutely.
could at least look at it before they have to walk all the way to the city to look at something. I think it's
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely.
I know we can't open a whole other discussion, especially with not on the agenda, but I think it's somewhat related to it. What is the status of implementing security at the doors? Is that something that we're still pursuing, or not pursuing, where we're gonna have the doors be card access and people would request to come? Is that something that's still in the works?
It's been ongoing, but we're finding it difficult to implement, just for, this is a public building and people need to have access. So we have key fobs to most all areas that are secured, so that, to get in.
Okay.
But actually at the door, not yet.
Okay.
I know this isn't any consolation to anybody, but when Manny and I went to the CML meeting in Levita, people in Pueblo were complaining about Black Hills Energy. I mean, their electric bills are outrageous.
Yeah, right.
And I just noticed a couple weeks ago, they're getting another rate increase, and they were trying to get a
They
decrease.
went up 22%.
So it's just
They went up 22%.
22%.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe we're still running lower than any of our comparables, I think, right? Yeah. We're still way under.
Yeah, San Isabel's appreciative, right?
Okay, anything else?
There's reasons for that.
Our next meeting will be, we're going to have a December time. Next Tuesday, the 16th, will be our next regular meeting, and the last meeting for the.
Oh, finally.
And then we have a special meeting on the 30th because of noticing for those resolutions. I mean, ordinances that was implied.
The 30th is going to be another special.
It'll be a work session with a special meeting.
So we're not even going to get a break. No rest for the wicked. Okay.
Just after the other meeting. We'll just stay here till 9 o'clock one night and sacrifice.
Thank you, guys.